to get it on these youngins talking like they knowin' something. Recognize that I've been through it. Time to run it, let's get to it.
You right, you always wrong. Fourth quarter going strong. You just be talking, you ain't on. Like the verses in my songs, I'm going in.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Going In
podcast.
It is yours truly, Lord Nelson and
Jay Parker,
that guy. But listen, this is a special podcast. We have a great guest, our first actual guest. Thank you very, very much for being on here. It is Mr. Troy Spry, author extraordinaire.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Relationship guru.
We here, baby.
Doing what he's doing.
We here.
And it's going to be a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We're going to have a good talk.
Oh, yeah.
And so what we're here about relationships. This is a relationship episode. And I know a lot of you guys out there, men and women. Listen, you taught me a lot reading the book. I ain't gonna lie to you. You taught me a lot reading the book because, I thought I was good. I thought I was good.
I thought I was good too.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought I was doing
But ladies and gentlemen, the book is Teach Me How to Love, Why What You Don't Know Will Hurt You.
Absolutely.
Why What You Don't Know Will Hurt You.
That's it right
By
there.
Mr. Troy Spry.
That's
So
it.
let's give it up for him. Give it up for him. Indeed.
That's an
So
introduction.
listen,
right
man. We want to have a good time, man.
sure.
It's like, we're family. We're glad to have you on, man. And we just want to talk about relationships, man. We want to get into
How you
it.
got into this? Like,
Oh, man.
What prompted you to?
That's a good question. So I get that question often, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So I've always been interested in like human behavior. So I studied psychology in school.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And so I've always been interested in relationships too.
Gotcha.
Right. So I always tell people, man, like growing up, I was like the guy who, like, if my homeboys wanted like a poem or something written for a woman, they used to hire a letter, anything.
Right.
They used to. I ain't hired.
You
You
would've
should have
been-
hired.
Yeah, you should have
They should have hired me, but I was like, I
You
was
were the
the
guy.
I was giving them
Yeah.
the juice, right?
Yeah.
Not, I didn't even know what I was doing back then, but I was.
Yeah.
I just always was a little bit step ahead of things, right?
Right.
And so eventually, man, I wrote a blog, right? So my first blog ever was called A Mother's Love.
Okay.
And I just wrote it out of a space that my mom had passed away. She had multiple sclerosis. She passed away. And I needed to do something with it, right? But I was always a good writer.
Right.
Right? And so I wrote the blog, sent it out to social media. Like, just sent the blog out. People wrote me back, and they was like, man, I love your writing. I can relate to it, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, okay. So I might have something here. So I just started writing about what came natural, which was relationships, right? So what I used to do is, like, I was working, like, in a pharmaceutical job at the time. I still do pharmaceuticals, too. But any, like, story I would hear from, like, nurses or whoever it was, relationship situations, they used to always ask me questions. I just started writing about that joint.
Right.
I just started writing.
for sure.
And I would write my opinion on it, whatever. And I would send it to social media. And eventually, dude, people wrote back and started asking me for advice.
Okay.
And I was like, why are you asking me for advice? Like, I'm just giving my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then eventually, I was like, okay, this is cool. I saw a dude on Twitter one day. He's one of the biggest dudes in the game right now. His name is Stefan Labossiere. Stefan speaks. And his title said Relationship Coach. And I was like, what is a relationship coach, right?
Yeah.
No, people still don't know what that is, right?
Right.
So I looked him up, sent him a message. I was like, you got to teach me how to do this. Like, help me understand what this is. So I drove to Atlanta, met the dude. He taught me how to get certified as a coach.
Okay.
Each
Right?
one teach
Yeah,
one.
he-
That's
he-
real.
He taught me how to kind of like start building a following and a platform and
Right.
things like that. I'm indebted to the dude because
Yeah.
he put me on how to do it. I knew I was passionate about it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so then I came up with the mission, right? So the mission, I was like, I see people in the space. Some of them are very one-sided. Some of them are just trying to get clickbait. And I was like, you know what? If we're going to do this for a genuine reason, I want a genuine reason. So the mission for me was better people, better mates, better relationships, and better communities.
Love.
Right? So I was like, okay, if we can start with being better people, build better relationships, and we become better mates, our community is going to be great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is my way of giving back to a community by just becoming an expert in relationships. Like, 'cause I study this stuff, dude.
Right.
Like, this is my thing. This is what I do. It's not just my opinion.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I am. And then the audience grew. And long story short, they said I want a book. The audience, the audience will tell you what they want.
Yeah, they're gonna tell you.
They gonna tell you. Hey, I was like, where the
you
book
got
at?
it. Yeah, you
and,
got
and
it.
guess what I gave him? I delivered him a book.
Yeah,
so,
indeed.
so
Great
that's,
book.
that's where we at. That's
Great.
a long story, but
Yeah, it's not a long story, but I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what they need to know. And you say something in there. You said this is a guide.
Yeah.
You said, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Oh, yeah.
tell me more about that. You saying this is a guide?
Oh yeah. So we got to understand about relationships, right? It's not one size fits all, right? Everybody's got a different situation. Everybody's got a different opinion, whatever it might be. All relationships don't work the same. But there's got to be certain fundamentals. It's like basketball, right? It's like sports. It's like music, right? You got to learn how to write over a certain track, bars, all these kind of things. You got to learn how to bounce pass. You got to learn how to chest pass. You got to learn the fundamentals. And so I was like, a lot of us don't even have fundamentals, right? And a lot of reasons we don't have fundamentals because we didn't see it growing up, or the fundamentals we saw were bad fundamentals.
Yeah, real talk.
There was,
he
says
that in his book.
That's what it is.
Real talk.
You know what I call it? I call it normalized dysfunction.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of us got normalized dysfunction. That's one of the reasons why I love what y'all do. Y'all got a great relationship, great family. But there are a lot of people, man,
that don't
have none of that.
All I know, you hitting on a lot of the bullet points, man, already, man. That's love.
That's it.
So let me say this to you. What I wanted to say is that, like, one of the first things is when I started reading it, The Dedication to Your Mom.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. You know, I lost my mom, right after I graduated from high school. I was just 17 years old. Yeah. So, she went through a cancer, sickness, colon cancer, and died. So it hit me. It touched me. So I'm just saying. So that was important to me. So I'm not that I want you to go in and speak, about your mom and stuff like that. I just wanted to let you know from my point of view, from my perspective, that resonated with me. That touched me, and so immediately you already had me. Exactly. I already wanted to know like relationship, but immediately you got me. So so
Mom Dukes, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I want to talk about that real quick.
Let's talk about it.
My mom. I even talk about this in the book.
Right.
So she didn't necessarily teach me how to do relationships, but she taught me how to love. Right. So they were teaching me how to love comes from a lot of that. Right.
Yeah.
She taught me like what this idea of like unconditional love kind of was, and sacrifice and nurturing and all those kind of things. I learned those from watching her. Sometimes to her detriment.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes she loved it a little too much.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so one of the things that helped me with the book is I saw two sides of a relationship. I saw them in the early years of my mom and dad relationship where it was like good, where it was like, I like that, this is good. Yeah. And then I saw a breakdown, and I saw the other side, right, where you're working towards separation and all those other kind of things. Right. And I said, this one felt way better. Right, this one felt way better. Indeed. So that's kind of some of the background on why I put it in there. I wanted people to understand, like, it's not a perfection thing, but I can see both sides of the equation.
No, that got to me because I could understand a lot of the things that you were saying. Same thing with me. I was just like, wow, because my mother was a nurturer, and she taught us about love and respect and those things like that. My dad, I love you.
Yeah.
He's a wild dude. You know what I'm saying? He's a wild
like
boy. But it was all love. Okay, so now, lunchtime discussion. How did that start?
Dude.
I got things to ask you, man. Talk to me, man.
I want to talk to you all day about this.
This is a throwback right here. So lunchtime discussion started right when I was building the platform. Right? So I was building the platform because I needed people to be a part of it. And I said, what's better way to get people talking than to ask them a question?
Okay.
Right? And people always want to get their opinion.
Right. Oh, do that.
So, dude, it was at a point in my life where I actually had enough time in my schedule to at lunchtime, I would just ask a question, like a series of 3 to 5 questions on Twitter. It was on Twitter.
Right.
I mean, Twitter was popping then, too. And the audience grew from that. So it was always a relationship topic. And people would that's how I also collected data. Right? So a lot of times people just want to give their opinion all the time. I'm like, I need to hear what the people got to say.
Right.
So I collected the data from the discussions, which then created a community. You see, that's what we called it Team LTD. I had shirts and everything.
Really?
It was the whole thing.
Yeah, we're on our way to that too. That's love.
It was the whole community that built. And I hate that I had to kind of dissolve it because I got busier.
Gotcha.
Right? I just had the time to do it no more. But man, the LTD discussions was lit. I used to love them joints, man. I'm glad you asked me.
I mean, listen, I saw so many things. Listen, I'm old, guys. I got the glasses on. Don't clown me. Don't clown me. So, okay. Now, you stated that one thing you know for sure is that people still want love.
Yes.
Speak on this for us.
We got to talk about that, dude.
Because, I'm not sure that the younger generation care about it as much as we care. And I know you're younger than me, but I'm just saying we did things differently. So let's speak on that.
It's different, man. So the fundamental human desire is love and companionship, right? We weren't put here to be alone, right? How we go about getting that love is different. So a lot of people are doing things that what I've learned just through coaching so many people is people desire intimacy, but they really cover it up in sex, right? So they really want to feel connected, but they'll say, I just want sex.
Right.
And I'm like, nah, it's got to become cool again to have feelings.
Right.
Like, but what I've learned is a lot of where that came from is that generation went through seeing dysfunctional relationships, right? So to defend themselves, they don't want to go deep, right? They don't want, in their mind, they don't want to go deep, but in their heart, they do.
Right.
You see what I mean? Because you can't tell me when you watch two people that are really in love, that really care about each other, that's a beautiful thing.
Yes,
you can't tell me people don't want that.
Right.
You
Right.
see?
Okay.
Like, that's why you got these things like relationship goals, black love, like all these things. People sit there and look at it and they smile and all that kind of. You can't tell me to look at that and be like, I don't want that.
Right.
People be lying to themselves.
Right,
That's
right.
how I feel. That's my opinion. People be lying to themselves about it. And so what I want to do is give people a platform and a way to say, you know what, I do want it, but there's a smarter way to go about it. Right? I do desire it. I want to feel love. I want to love someone else, but it's got to be a smarter way.
Yeah.
Right? Before, we were doing, a lot of people, man, they just take their bodies and say, okay, I'm going to get love this way.
That temple, man.
You see what I mean?
Right.
And so that's kind of what I meant by that. Is
Okay.
like, you know, people still want companionship. You can't tell me, think about yourself, right? In your age, in your age range, you want to do this alone?
You see how he just tried to play me?
You just said I'm older than you. Right?
You saw that man old, man.
I'm clever. So you're right. No.
But think about it, would you want to do it alone?
No.
Would you want to be single right now?
No.
Out in the streets, like, I'm just out here,
Hey.
living my life.
But I've got some people like that though. But they always tell me that, hey, you've got it great. You know, no matter what goes on, they're just like, I would rather be in your situation.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm out here still looking for that's something that's good. So, you know, I'm just like, I hear you. You know, I'm not tripping. I'm thankful and grateful that I have what I have. I'm thankful for my wife.
That's the thing, though. They don't want to be honest about it. I think that's the key. Is right. No one wants to just say, this is what I'm looking for. Because they don't want to seem thirsty. They don't want to seem like they pushing too hard, trying too hard. Everybody want to be so cool because I feel like social media has made the facade everything.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Right?
It's definitely a
so
facade.
like it's not cool to like be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Right.
It's cool to look like I got it all together all the time. But see, I coach people every day.
Right.
So
you
like
know.
I see the reality of what, like the people that be popping off the most be the ones in my inbox. You see what I mean? So it look cool. Like it's like, oh yeah, I'm this. They putting up these memes and I don't need this and I don't need nobody. But they'll be the ones asking me the questions because they in situations with somebody that's dragging them.
Right.
You see what I mean? So I guess the point I'm trying to come back to is we want it.
Yeah.
Right. We just got it's a human desire.
It's a human desire.
That's what it
I like
is.
that, man. I'm telling. Go ahead.
Do you think social media is positively affecting relationships or negatively affecting relationships? Because it's different now from when you started.
Yeah,
you know,
it's different.
Now. So that's a question I wanted to ask.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. We gotta unpack that a little bit, right? So social media is a platform.
Yeah.
Right? It's a way to disseminate information, essentially, is what it is. It's a source of entertainment. But used in the wrong way can be negative or positive.
Exactly.
You see what I mean? So there's some people who might like think about it like this. What social media does essentially is looks at what you're interested in and repeatedly sends you those things.
Right.
So if that's the case, if all you looking at is men ain't this, women ain't that,
gonna
negative
send it to
this, negative that, that's what you're gonna get. And you're gonna recreate those in your narrative in your mind the whole time. But if you're looking at the other stuff, then like black love or positive things about relationships or positive things about people or whatever, they're gonna feed you that too.
Right.
You see what I mean? So I think it can be really good.
Yeah.
But it also can be really bad. The hard thing though, this is where I think I'm gonna go here is it increases FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. That's the thing it does. Like back in the day, right? And you can relate to this probably more than you can relate to it. Is if it was a community of people, like say it was school, right? You might see a certain amount of people at school, or you might see her at the fair, or you might see, but you couldn't just swipe,
Right.
and go find whoever you want, whatever. So when you wanted her, you had to let her know you wanted her. You had to probably lock it down. Now you can just be like, you're an option. I'm gonna swipe somebody else. You're just another option. Right?
An option. Hey, that's saying a lot.
I'm telling you, that's.
I didn't even think of it
I
that
never
way.
thought about it like that either.
An option.
Yeah.
Because you have that.
It's a
the
plethora
options
of
are
options,
endless.
right?
They're endless.
It is. So that's kind of how it can be negative sometimes, right? It make you, even if you got a great woman or a great man,
look
Yeah.
and
you
see,
look at you like, like now you exposed to all these other people.
Yeah.
But you're like, I could be doing this. I could have her. I could have him.
Y'all listen to this. You know, I like to say Instagram is the devil, man. And listen, it's not the devil, but man, Instagram is the devil.
It'll get you.
It's
It'll get you
something
every
else.
time. What it does is it like takes away from genuine connections, right? Because instead, I always say like you can't go deep with surface level effort, right, and surface level investment. So if you want something deep for someone, you got to be willing to first get off the surface and stop swiping.
Yeah.
Right. You got to start building something with somebody. You got to like invest time, energy, emotions. Like you got to invest in it. And if it don't work out, that's cool. Yeah. Right. But you at least tried to invest in it. But most people ain't doing that, man. They swiping. They got a whole roster.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They got a whole roster. They using this person for dinner, this person for sex, this person for
That's
conversation.
youngsters, man. That's the youngsters, man.
I'm
not saying older folks don't do it. I'm just saying.
But don't it sound exhausting? To me, it's exhausting. It's like how you gonna ever really get next level love?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How you gonna get what you got?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How you gonna get what I got?
There you go.
I love it, man.
There you go. I love it.
So okay, so listen. Now, maybe we talk on a little bit. Now, what's your mission? What's your mission?
Yeah.
So the mission statement is what I said earlier, right? Better people, better mates, better relationships,
Right, so you
better
kinda
communities.
explained
But I just want to impact lives in a way that when they see my content, it challenges them to think. That's really the core of it. Challenges them to think against their normal belief.
Gotcha.
That's what I do every time I scroll through Instagram. I'm looking through something.
You see that?
Let's go challenge.
That's it.
Maybe so I can learn something.
That's it. I just want them to like. I think that's the part you got to trigger something. Right? I want to trigger something that might be different than what you and your homeboys talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you and your girls talking about.
Yeah.
Right? It might say, dang, maybe I should at least try to understand the other sex a little bit better. Versus saying they got to understand me. They just got to know. Like it's certain things, man. I just want people to say, okay, is a healthy relationship fun?
Yeah.
Right? Versus a lot of what you get is, it's boring. Or you're in a relationship with somebody for a long time, it's just gonna be boring.
Yeah.
Right? There ain't no sex, there ain't no this, there ain't no that. I'm like, but nah, there's people out here that's having fun. I have fun with my wife.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
You see what I mean? But I want to challenge the thought of what you might have been fed in the past.
Yeah, that's
So,
real.
let's do something different.
That's real. What you just said, that's real. Because once again, we think that we know everything. But after reading the book, I was just like, hey man, you maybe hey man, I was like, what? I mean, now mind you, there was a lot of stuff I was like, I'm already there,
and that's
man.
good.
But then I was like, wow.
He think he already
No. I mean, honestly, because I assessed it. I assessed myself. I was just like, what he's saying, I was just like, man, this is getting to me. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great read. Yeah, it's a great read. I don't care who you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care man, woman. He's got it in there for you, because at first it was just like, you were going in on the women and letting it be known. And then you was just like, hold on. I got something for y'all. So I was like, hold on, let me get prepared for this. You know what I'm saying?
They was in there shaking their head like, yep. They're like, oh, here goes my turn.
Right, here goes my turn. Okay.
If you look in the book too, like a lot of what I talk about is self-reflection.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the goals too. It's not just making you think, but then making you reflect.
Yeah.
Because that's at the core of it all. It's the reflection piece.
Yeah.
Like that's what it challenged me to do. Like starting my movement made me a better person. Right? Because I was forced to think about like how I was behaving. Like what was I doing? How was I treating my wife? What was I saying to her?
Right.
So it challenged. I was like, dang, you know what? I'm talking about all this stuff, but I just did this and that ain't right.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it goes back to it's not
Being
perfection.
accountable.
So you gotta be accountable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. So you just answered, just like I said, I got these bullet points, man. It's so good. I wrote all these down, but what you said, talking about the mindset. Yeah. So it's a changing of the mindset.
That's it.
And hey, beautiful. Now you talked about normalized dysfunction a little bit earlier. Self-reflection.
That's it.
You on it.
Hey, but I know this thing back and forth.
Yeah, you on it. Okay.
I go, do you have more male or female clients coming to you?
It's a good question.
Like in the DM and all that.
It's a good question, man. Yeah. So if you look at my audience, right, it's about 75% women, 25% men. And I coach more women than men. Now, people might ask, why is that though? Right? So you got to think about it like this. Women have always been taught that they can have a way to express themselves, right? And so they don't mind asking for help. You can't even get a man to ask for directions half the time, right? Because we've been taught to be prideful.
Yeah, right.
But here's what I will tell you though, is I get a lot more men in private.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So women will do a lot more Okay. Women will do a lot more in public, right? So they might comment more. They might even reach out for coaching more. But a lot of men, they'll send me a question in DM, and a lot of times with men, I won't even like push back too hard on. I just want to hear what they got to say, right?
For sure.
And I just want to hear them talk.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And I learned. I know so much more about how men feel about relationships now.
Right.
And that's why I be riding for men on my platform, because I want women to understand. You asking me all these questions, but the men telling you, you just don't want to listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? You don't want to listen to what they're telling you.
Right.
And so I really ride for men a lot. But men will ask. The unfortunate thing is this: men will ask a lot of times when it's too late. So they about to lose their woman. Yeah. They about to lose their wife.
Okay.
And so now they like, hey, help me save it. And I'm like, man, but you should just holler at me like, now you done ruined. You know what I mean? So, and you can try to help, but but men will talk. I think people got to stop thinking that men don't talk. It's just we not as loud.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you ever look at social media, if you ever watch like a post that asks for opinions from men start talking. What happened? Women jump right in, right? And so what men do is, I ain't going back and forth with you. I'm just gonna let you have the platform.
That's right.
And so men will talk if women just give them the space to talk. And I'm not blaming women. I'm just telling you right now, like they just gotta sit and listen, right? You just gotta listen. You know what I mean? Because men want to tell you, but you gotta want to listen.
Gotta want to listen. Hey man, listen. That's red. Listen, man. Woo, hey.
He on it, boy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talk about like being the one.
Yeah.
Being
I want to.
Being the one. That hit me off. I like that. That was really good. Being the one. And I think a lot of ladies, this for you. Ladies, being the one.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to this young man. Listen, once again, you gotta read this book. It's for you. It's for everybody. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, being the one.
So that's probably my favorite chapter of the book. Right? It's not about finding the one. It's about being the one. And I think a lot of that though starts with: do you study? Do you even look at the person you're trying to attract? Right? Do you even care to know what they think, how they feel, any of that stuff? And then people will say, "Well, I don't have to change myself." And then I'm like, "No, but you have to sacrifice." Right? You do that. If I want to create a product, right? I gotta understand what the audience wants,
right?
Or what the consumer wants, in order to say, you know what, I need to probably adjust a few of these things. You know what I mean? Now, when it comes back to the personal part of being the one, like, are you where you need to be, right? Or are you just expecting him or her or whatever to elevate you,
Gotcha.
right? Are you financially sound? Are you spiritually sound? Are you mentally, emotionally? We're all growing, but are you doing those things? Are you actively working on them? Right? Or are you expecting somebody to just buy into your potential all the time? You see what I mean? Yeah. So to me, being the one, like, you gotta be working on yourself. Right. You gotta be working on yourself, and then you find a partner that you can go into it with.
What would the steps be to preparing yourself to be the one? You get what I'm saying? Like, what would you say to start with?
I think it starts with, remember, the most attractive thing for most people is confidence, right? And so how do you build esteem and confidence? Yeah. You build it through being successful in certain things, right? So if you're not financially where you want to be, how you gonna be confident? You see what I mean? If you're not emotionally where you want to be, you're always gonna be questioning yourself. You're gonna be feeling like insecure and all those kind of things. You're not mentally where you want to be, you're always gonna be doubting yourself. So you got to start doing the work, like doing the personal work. Those are the steps. I call it, one of my mentors always taught me 4-quadrant living, right? He talked about financial, right? He talked about spiritual, he talked about emotional, and then he talked about socially, right? And I was like, you know what? If you can be good in those 4 areas, your confidence level goes to another place. And so now when you're on the scene, you ain't dating out of a place of like lack. Right? You date out of a place of I'm sure of myself, and here's what I can add to your life.
This is my value.
You know what I mean? This is my value, and I expect you to have a certain level of value too. So I'm not selling myself short.
Right.
But I'm not arrogant either. You see what I mean? That's how you go about being the one.
So now, adding on to that, because my next thing, it goes with that. Starting with 2 healthy people.
2 healthy people. I love. Look, let me tell you. If we can do one thing today, we need to get people to be healthy themselves, so that they can then add value to somebody else. Right. We got too many people trying to save each other. You know what I mean? And then we have, you ever heard of trauma bonding? People out here trauma bonding, like they getting together based off of their trauma, and so that don't make for a healthy relationship, and it really don't make for a healthy raising of another family. Like you have a kid, now you bring them into it. You see what I mean? So why not all of us just get healthy, get where we want to be mentally, physically, spiritually? And I'm not saying, here's the thing, when you're young, when you're in your early 20s, you're still on that journey, right? I'm still on the journey. I'm in my mid 30s, right?
Indeed.
You always on the journey, but are you working towards it?
Right.
And you can tell when somebody actively working towards something versus when they just looking for somebody to come save them.
Right.
You see what I mean? So that's what we got. You got two different people, two healthy people together.
Yeah, because I call it a whip. That's my thing, a work in progress.
Work in progress.
That's what I say. I said, man, marriage is a whip, relationships are a whip. People got to understand that. You know, we bring the value to each other, and as you say, healthy. And then the thing is that we all have abilities and inabilities.
Yep.
So, you know, you kind of weigh those.
That's it.
You weigh them and say like, hey, but she's got all these abilities. So I can probably deal with that inability over there. That ain't really a major thing.
There you go.
You know
80-20, huh? It's 80-20.
That's what's
You
up.
know how many people let go of people, man, just because they don't hit every single mark on their little list? And I'm like, man, but what is your list based out of?
Right.
You see what I mean? And that's where FOMO comes in again, right? It's like, oh, well, they got all these things, but they lacking on this. Well, find you a complementary partner that helps with those kind of things. And then we can be stronger together.
Exactly.
Core values and deal breakers.
Let's talk
I'm
about
on it, man. I'm on it. I'll tell you, man. I was
Hey,
doing
I
it.
love that, dude. Now, so here's the thing we got to talk about, though, is people look at values and they really look at them as preferences, right? Values are different. Like, values are like, what is your true north? Like, what do you base your life off of? You see what I mean? Your values are things like integrity, right? Ambition, spirituality, you know, things like that. Not, does he have a six-pack?
Right.
You see what I mean? Does she have a big butt?
Right.
Those aren't values, right? Those are just preferences. that
Right,
you like.
indeed.
So the question is like, you know, if you want to build a life with someone, you need to understand that y'all believe and think the same way. I hate the term opposites attract. They don't necessarily attract, right? Not when you look at long-term relationships. When you look at the data on it, homogamy is what attracts, which is similarities, right? That's what really attracts because you live in the same ways, you think the same kind of thoughts, right? You have the certain class that you want to be in, right? You have the same visions. You see what I mean? Like, so to me, you gotta start looking at similarities of values and not like, do they make me have butterflies all the time? The butterflies are gonna go away at some point.
Right. No, that's real.
You know what I mean? Let me be careful not to use the word go away, but they ain't as active. The butterflies ain't as active after a while. So that's kind of where we at, man. So yeah, core values, man.
Listen,
They're important.